You're listening to the Building Stronger Agents podcast, where we interview the top solo agents, team leaders, and brokers across the country to see what makes them thrive in today's market and beyond. Thanks, everybody, for coming. Today, we're going to talk about something incredibly important, which is our database. As most of you know, I've been a real estate agent for 38 years. John's been Gualtieri, my co-host here. He's been my business coach since 2008. And he had the top RE/MAX team in Philadelphia for a long time. And I was selling, most houses I ever sold in a year by myself was 110, which explains all my wrinkles at 57. This one right here, especially, that's from frowning all the time. But anyway, I sold 110 houses in a year. And at that point, 70% of my business was past client referrals. And I'm going to tell you a little story. And if you don't believe it, Google it. Netflix, it blew me away, by the way. Netflix just came out and they announced that due to human behavior, they did a study, by the way. They found that 94% of their viewers were scrolling on their phone while they're watching TV. As a result, they made a decision. Keep in mind, this is a multi-billion-dollar company. They made a decision to start dumbing down their programming. They're going to start announcing the plots 3 and 4 times in an episode, all because people aren't paying attention. They're getting distracted easily. So this is not limited to Netflix. A lot of us suffer from the same addiction. The average person is spending about 5 to 8 hours a day scrolling on their phones. And why does that matter on this call? Because if you're not staying in touch with your past clients and you don't have a strategic way of staying top of mind with the people that you know, and I will beat this drum forever. I sound like a broken record, but our relationships are the currency of our business. But due to these new distractions called this, our brains are turning to mashed potatoes. I think a lot of people on here share that sentiment. And because of that, it's very, very important that we spend a lot more time staying in touch with our past clients and our sphere of influence. So today, we're going to talk about our database being the golden goose of our business. Business should be, for a successful real estate agent, should be 3 pillars. It should be your past clients in your sphere. It should be outbound reach or prospecting. That's by the way, the outbound reach and prospecting, that is the one leg of the chair that makes the whole chair fall over for most agents. 87% fail in the first 5 years. It's only because their paychecks get too far apart, which is because they're not prospecting, and they can't rely solely on referrals and repeat business from their sphere because they don't do much in that area either. So you've got past clients in sphere, you've got outbound reach, and then you've got social proof, social media, reviews, that sort of thing. Those should be the 3 legs of your stool. If you're dialed in on those 3 areas, there is zero reason why you won't ever make multi-6 figures, regardless of where you are. By the way, in Akron, Ohio, average sale price is about $280. And last year we sold 128 homes, which is, I've backed off a lot. Before we were selling about 200 homes a year. I'm only saying this to add some credibility that as John and I talk about this is because we've both been doing this a very long time. Let me pull up our little guideline here. So the goose that lays the golden eggs is our database. I'm just going to read through these 2 points. There is the care and the feeding of the goose, and there's the place where the goose lives, which is your database. And today is about where the goose lives. We're going to address the care and the feeding on another call. First thing we need to talk about is CRMs. A lot of agents get hung up on which CRM to use. My advice to you, I used Top Producer for a long time. They were a Canadian company. They were purchased by Realtor.com, which is Move Inc. And I stopped using them. We currently use Follow Up Boss, which is obviously owned by Zillow. But the point is, don't get too hung up on the CRM that you use because it doesn't really matter. They all have the same basic functionality. As long as you can put your people in, you can categorize them based on importance in your life and importance of you in their lives, which is, we're going to talk about that. And then have some kind of a reminder tool, which every CRM does, so that you can strategically and systematically stay in touch with people. I'm sure everybody on here has. Does anyone want to raise their hand? Does everybody have a CRM that they use? Just raise your hand.
If you don't, Will, Wise Agent is probably the most affordable one that'll get the job done. Wise Agent.
Right. I used to use Lion Desk. It was about 20 bucks. The point is, if you don't have a CRM, then just get a basic one. I've got friends of mine that use Google Sheets, and they do really well because they actually focus on the Google Sheet or the spreadsheet. Whatever it is, but have something. The next thing we're going to talk about is who should be in your database. I'm going to hand that over to John.
I forgot. Can I Google it and then jump back on the call?
No time for jokes on this, John.
Yeah,
this is serious business.
My clients don't laugh at my stupid jokes anymore. Yeah, so guys, listen, I just want to share a couple of thoughts with you before we talk about this piece. This whole area of the goose that lays the golden eggs and lives in our database is like a stupid metaphor that Will thought up. And, at the end of the day, it is spot on. And when we look at our database, that's where the goose lives. And many of us have like a database that's tantamount to a chicken coop that hasn't been shoveled out in forever. And the point that I want to make here is that, guys, there's no hair on this. When I got this piece really dialed down, I earned $150,000 more the following year. And there's no doubt in my mind that it came from this wheelhouse. And $150,000 back in the day is like $250,000 today. And Will and I were talking today, guys, the technology has changed. It's irrefutable. However, the principles are immutable. They remain. And this is a principle. You have to have a clean database. So I categorized my database into 4 areas because what real estate agents do by and large, they want to throw everybody into a bucket, right? And then do the same thing, which is maybe send them an electronic newsletter. And that's not going to get the job done. It really isn't. We'll talk about touching the database in another day, but we have to get the database right first. So there's 4 categories in the database, and I don't care what you call them, okay? The first one is core advocates, and this is by far and away the smallest group, but it's the mightiest group. And I want to make this statement, and you'll hear it on the recording if you watch it again. You're lucky if you have 1 core advocate. Lucky, okay? And at the end of the day, these are referral sources on steroids, and they're well placed vocationally to send us a lot of business. And you have to go out and find and nurture these relationships. They're not going to fall into your lap. So I had 6 core advocates collectively responsible for $250,000 of my GCI annually. And so let me give you a for example, and we'll move on. One of the people who was a core advocate will own the 2nd largest moving and storage company in the United States. He was headquartered in our marketplace. His name is Bobby Cox. Bobby knew when people were moving before I did. So you see the vocational connection. You're lucky if you have one, and I don't want to spend a lot of time here. And by the way, before we're finished today, I'm going to share something with you that you can implement quickly and for no money that will definitely bring you six additional referrals this year. 6. Multiply that by your average commission check, so it's worth the time today. All right, so the second group I called raving fans. The probability of referral with core advocates, 100%. Given the opportunity, they'll send you a referral. The statistical probability of raving fans, 100%. If they have a referral in that group, they will send it to you, 100%. If what? If we're keeping the goose nice and fat, conversation for another call. So those 2 groups are going to account for about 70 to 80% of your referrals. And this is where you're going to spend the majority of your time, energy, and resources feeding the goose. And you have to be meticulous. This database should be clean as a whistle and efficient. The third group I call potential fans. And these were people where I had a 50-50 shot at a referral, and some of them were past clients. Do not make the assumption that just because someone is a past client, that that individual is going to send you a referral. Not the case. Some people are introverts. I had a guy who spent all day long sitting at a computer and all night long sitting at a computer. This dude didn't know anybody. I mean, I kind of felt sorry for him. You know, the statistical probability of getting a referral from him would be 50-50. If he had the chance, he'd send it to me, but he would never have the chance. So your referrals are going to come from the first two groups. This is where you spend the majority of your time, energy, and resources. Group 3, 50-50 shot. 50-50. Last group, the biggest group by far with the least amount of power, and that's your network. These are people that you know very casually who just might send you a referral, maybe. And you know, at the end of the day, if I had to quantify it, maybe a 20 to 30% probability of getting a referral from these folks. Well, look, are you going to spend a lot of time, energy, and resources in groups 3 and 4? No, that's dumb. You're not going to do that. In my world, those people in groups 3 and 4 got my newsletter, which I sent by snail mail back in the day, and that was it. That's all they got. I did not, spend a ton of time, energy, and resources, meaning money, on those groups because the first two groups were the ones with all the power. And again, getting this piece clear, because I threw them all into one bucket and wanted to treat everybody the same way. Not smart on my part, not smart on your part if that's what you're doing. If you want to take the quick and easy way out, just do that, but count on getting marginal results compared to the results that you could get. Now, we've included, I don't know how you're going to do this, maybe when you do the link to the recording, but there are two documents that we're including here. One is called Memory Joggers, and the other one is called LETIP, L-E-T-I-P, Referral Sources. One is more the professional people that you might know, the other is everybody else. But it'll stimulate your memory. Who do you know? Because, and I'm going to turn this over to Will in a second. At the end of the day, what's the criteria to be in this database? What criteria do we use? Answer: anybody you know that you don't hate and they don't hate you, right? Anybody. Man, that is about 90% of the world for me, right?
Right.
But sincerely, anybody you know and they know you that potentially send you a referral. That's the criteria. And do not, under any and all circumstances, commingle this database with another one. Your prospects don't belong in there. Your leads don't belong in there. People who, are wild and woolies, just you don't know who they are. Doesn't belong here. Only people that you know and they know you. There was a guy in my network, the fourth group, and he cut my grass when I lived out in the country. And I knew who he was. He was in my database. He got my newsletter. But if I came home and he was cutting the grass, it was, hey, Jim, hey, John, and that was it. That was the extent of the relationship. Might he send me a referral? Yeah, but all he got was my newsletter. That was it. So categorizing your database is going to take you from kind of like, the worst kind of gasoline money can buy to jet fuel. That's what'll happen. And again, this one piece, understanding that, hey, these first two groups is where the rubber meets the road, made me a ton of money in 1 year, a ton. This seems kind of obvious, but you have to have full contact information in there: name, mailing address, their email address, their cell phone. And this data is fairly easy to come by nowadays with big data. Okay, it's not that difficult. And look, if somebody's stuff is missing, call the person. Right, but you need those modems of communication. With email, we're of course going to send them email. We're maybe going to send snail mail from time to time. First two groups, we may want to send a text using the Reach platform, but complete contact information. And here's the deal, guys. Consider this to be a very nurturing admonishment. everybody on this call I know is a smart person, because if you weren't a smart person, you wouldn't be here. Nobody on this call is a fool, because if you were a fool, you wouldn't be on this call. But what I will tell you is, and I used to get 100 referrals a year, and I'm very proud of that. It's not like, I'm being haughty, but I set the table so that would happen. It was intentional. So what would be foolish behavior is for you not to do what we're saying here in terms of your database. It would be foolish behavior, and none of you all are fools.
Especially, John, especially in this day and age. I mean, in the past, it was very easy for me where I could just, prior to social media getting a real foothold, which has happened mainly since COVID, because people were stuck at home, and that's when these addictions were they really grew rapidly. But with all of these distractions now, and everybody on TikTok and Instagram and Facebook and everything else, all the other stuff people are doing, it's really mainly social media. It's very, very important that you stay in touch, because otherwise you'll be, every day you look at your hot sheet in the MLS, and don't be surprised if you see a house that you sold and it's listed with someone else. And I've had that happen. And I tell you what, it guts me for about 2 days. I don't take that lightly. I immediately start thinking about all the bad things that I did and I should have done differently. But it's very, very important this day and age that you're very strategic. If you're focused on anything, it should be on building and maintaining a database. Now, for those of you that haven't been, and it's okay to admit it, because the vast majority of us fall into the category where we're not spending a lot of time on our database or on in our CRM, or staying in touch with the people in our life that we know, including our past clients in our sphere. In fact, the vast majority of agents that I talk to, they say, yeah, I send out a football calendar or I do this from time to time, but there's not a whole lot of real strategy behind what they're doing. The first thing you need to do going forward, I mean, get a legal pad, write down everyone that you know, and then ask one question. If given the opportunity, would this person send me a referral? So if you think that this is someone that knows you as a real estate agent, you either had if you had a transaction with them, then there's zero reason why they should say no, unless you just have done like all the wrong things, or not stayed in touch with them at all. But you can still, if you've got people, like if you know in your life you don't feel comfortable reaching back out to people after the transaction, even though you spoke with them almost every day while they were transacting, it's easy. You can just pick the phone up and say, I'm trying to do a better job of staying in touch with you. I've just been very, very busy, but I just wanted to reach out and see if you're okay. And start with that. It's like going back to the gym for the first time. A lot of us just push it off, because when you go, you're just going to be sore, and there'll be, you're not going to look any better or feel any better. Well, it's the same thing with this. You're just going to have to force yourself. If you haven't been one to stay in touch with the people in your phone, then, and by the way, the vast majority of us have everyone in our phone. I actually talked to an agent a couple of weeks ago. He said he doesn't save anyone's phone number. I asked him, I said, did you grow up in a household where you just feel like you don't deserve anything? Is that why you do that? I mean, like you don't deserve, you don't feel like you should do well? I mean, it's like sabotaging yourself. I mean, that's insanity. But anyway, that's where you start. Just start writing everybody down. If you have a database already, then again, start separating them into 4. If they're a professional that have the ability to refer you to more than one person, then they're core advocates. If they want to, so if you've got that relationship with them. Raving fan, which is 100% probability, as John said. Potential fans, 50-50, and then your network or the masses, right? Once you've separated them, John, let's go back to the core advocates and go give some examples, since we've got plenty of time here. So we've talked about the four groups. Core advocates. Give everybody on here some ideas. Like if you had a core advocate, or if you had more than one, what would you be doing over the course of the year differently for them to stay in touch with them? What are your clients doing?
Well, I can only tell you what I did. The first leg of the stool is understanding who might be a core advocate for you. So I'll give you the six that I had. The first one I already told you about was Bobby Cox. He owned a moving and storage company. The VIX company, which is a division of Procter and Gamble, had a division in my marketplace, VIX Vapor Rub, VIX Cough Drops, you know the company. And they were always shipping people in and out. I had a very strong relationship with the human resources manager there. I mean, massive. The third core advocate I had was a guy by the name of Jeremy Ricci. Jeremy had a company, We Buy Houses, one of those guys. And I got to thinking about it. You know, they typically get a dozen or so inquiries a month. And I had coffee with him. He was introduced to me by my accountant, who was my fourth core advocate. My accountant was the president of a group called the Diversified Investors Group in Philadelphia. He did over 200 tax returns for real estate investors a tax season. I mean, think about
Wow.
that. But he introduced me to Jeremy, and he said, "You need to have coffee with this guy." So I sat down with Jeremy, the We Buy Houses guy, and I said, "Jeremy, on average, how many inquiries come in, you know, on a monthly basis?" He said about 15, 20 come in. And I said, "So how many of those transactions can you actually handle?" He said, "Look, we pick out about two, maybe three a month. That's it." I said, "Well, what about the rest of them?" Guess what? Trash can. That's where they went. If you think about it, these people are calling him because they want to sell their homes, right? And I'm not saying that all of them are good leads. What I'm going to tell you is a good three or four of them were, and they were going in the trash can. Okay. So we had Bobby Cox, the moving guy. We had the human resources manager. We had Jeremy Ricci, who was the We Sell Houses guy. We had my accountant. The fifth core advocate was my insurance agent. My insurance agent had 200 employees. 200, right?
Wow.
Think about that. It was the largest independent insurance firm in the Philadelphia area. His name is Todd Brinkman. Todd Todd basically opened up his database to me. Now, of course, I refer Todd business, but I mean, hell, that's a lot of people. It really is. And then my sixth core advocate was a what do you call those guys that do estate attorneys? You know, somebody dies. You know,
Probate.
thank you. Yeah, and his name was Ed Schmidt. Last time I checked, a lot of people are dying, right, every day, and so I got those referrals. But think about those guys; they were all on steroids, and one lady, right, all on steroids referrals, and that group was $250,000 a year consistently in revenue to me, which today would probably be worth 500,000. Like for those who don't know me, I'm a lot younger than I look, and at the end of the day, it's better to look good than to feel good. So,
To put it in perspective, when John's talking about 250,000, his house was 18,000.
yeah,
So
there,
no,
16.5 actually. But guys, you get the
right.
idea. So let's just talk a minute since we have time about how to garner those relationships. You garner them one at a time. And when I met with these guys initially, I did not talk about me. I did not talk about all the great things. I didn't even go near me. I asked the following questions. Hey, Bobby, listen, I'm just curious. Who's the ideal client, for you guys moving and storage? Bobby, how would you want me to send you a referral? What does that look like? Bobby, listen, I know when houses come on the market, would it be helpful to you if I sent you every day a hot sheet about the new listings on the market? Bobby, listen, is there anything at all that as a real estate agent we can do to support your company? What I was thinking, Bobby, is we have over 110 agents in our office. I'd be happy to promote your company to them. It was like putting wood in the stove before you ask for any heat. And I did those things. And guys, I want to make a pretty crazy statement here. I got 100 referrals a year. I never asked anyone for a referral ever. And there are people who sit in my chair and the script goes like this. You call and you talk with Armand. Well, Armand, da, 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 how's everything? Well, listen, Armand, it was a pleasure speaking with you. And if you know anyone who might appreciate the high level of service that I rendered for you and your family, I'd really appreciate it if you'd pass my name along. I'd rather shoot myself than say that. Really, I would.
I don't think you're allowed to say that anymore, John.
Yeah, whatever. But look, at the end of the day, I never asked for a referral. If you approach this area with a consciousness of service and gratitude, the referrals will take care of themselves. But these core advocates are amazingly valuable. Now, look, I'm going to just give away now the thing I told you that would make you, at least 6 commission checks. So if you think about it, guys, and I'm not going to go off on a sermon here, but if you think about it, uh, in our game as real estate professionals, we are charged with creating the end user, the consumer, the buyers and the sellers. That's our charge. And when we do that, how many other people benefit on average? Anybody want to take a shot? Should I
It's
pick
like
on?
20, it's like 27.
Yeah, it's up there. And call it 12 to be ruthlessly conservative.
Yeah.
So when we sell a single home, when we list a single home, 12 other people go to work, get paychecks. And I understand that that's the game. I'm accepting of that. That's our job, to produce the consumer and everybody else benefits. But we need to ask this question. How many referrals do we get from the people who we put to work? How many? The answer is very few in my experience, sometimes none. When's the last time your home inspector gave you a referral? When's the last time your title company gave you a referral? When's the last time the termite guy gave you a referral? And 6 is on the low end. And here's what I'll tell you. You have earned the right to ask for a referral a year. One referral a year is what you want to ask for. Make it easy for those folks. And here's where this falls apart. Hey, Jim, listen, we love you here. You do a great job for our clients and so forth. Look, I'm just asking you, can you do your best to send us 1 referral a year? Jim says, I'll try. I'll do my best. But look, Armand, I've got other real estate agents and like EIEIO. That's lame. And if you do that, you are not going to get a referral from Jim. The way that I approached it sounded like this. Jim, listen, we love you, man. You do such a great job for our clients and so forth. And this may seem a little forward. I don't mean it to, but listen, I want to rely on you to send me 1 referral a year. That's all, Jim, just 1 a year. And with all due respect, I'm asking you for a commitment. Would you commit to doing that? Well, John, I'll try. Jim, ha, ha, ha. When people say that they'll try, what they really mean is they're not going to do it and then they're going to blame something or somebody else. So, Jim, listen, could you give me a commitment to do it or not? Right? Look, if somebody doesn't want to make that commitment to me and I am putting wood in their stove, I'm not going to go away angry, but I'm going to go away. I really am. I don't think it's fair and reasonable for us to be putting all these folks to work and they are not willing to give us 1 referral a year. I mean, hello. I mean, seriously, that is utterly unreasonable. Oh, well, I have other realtors, John. If I have to do it for you, I have to do it for them. Well, Jim, let me ask you a question. I'm not going to tell them, are you? Right? A commitment or not, right? Or not. And if somebody says, yes, John, I commit to doing that, I would say, okay, fair enough. But Jim, I don't want you to feel any pressure, which was one of my favorite sayings, right? Jim, I don't want you to feel any pressure. But if we get 4 to 6 months into the year and I haven't heard from you, and I call you and say, hey, Jim, it's been 4 to 6 months, I haven't seen a referral. How would you like me to handle that conversation? Look, I didn't give people any wiggle room. I was respectful. I was appropriate, and I was utterly convicted that you owe me one a year, just one a year. And that's it. Well, the ridiculous low end is 6. And if you guys had to guess how many referrals, look, we were doing 150 sides a year, right? How many referrals do you think I garnered from that group? I mean, it was a
Right.
lot, right? And guys, if you give people wiggle room, they'll take it. I'll try means they're not going to do it and they're going to blame something or somebody else for not doing it. A commitment is a commitment. Now, I want to tell you all a story since we have the time, because it's very, very important, not just in this wheelhouse, but in business and life in general. So I was in the largest Remax office in the Philadelphia area, and the guy who owned the region at the time, a guy by the name of Mike Stefanik, Mike owned the region of Pennsylvania and Delaware. He had both states. He sold that region back to Remax International for millions of dollars. Mike and I are somewhere between acquaintances and friends. When I lived on Seabrook Island, South Carolina, he would and I would have lunch together in Charleston. He's on Hilton Head. And I watched him. He used to have a Christmas ball. It wasn't a Christmas party. I'm telling you, man, this was a gala ball. The guys would dress up in tuxes, and the women would come knocked out. In fact, Karen still has a red dress hanging in the closet from one of those gala events that she's going to put on to dance on my grave when I die. She hates when I say that. She does. But I just like to get her going. But anyway, this happened every year. He must have spent at the time, I'm serious, 100, 200 grand on these events. And all the agents from Pennsylvania and Delaware, people used to fly out from Erie and Pittsburgh to go to this event. And he owned a 10,000 square office building. There were people everywhere. But I watched him work the room once, and he had purchased a title company. And he would walk up to Will and he would say, Will, um, I know you have your own relationship with the title company. Any great agent does. I get it. I don't know if you know it, but the region, not he didn't say me, the region, just started a title company. Would you commit to give me 1 or 2 deals a year just to try us out? Would you make that commitment? And what's the person going to say after he invited them to $100,000, $200,000, party? What are they going to say? No, right? And they would say, "Yeah, Mike, I'll do that." And he would put out his hand and he goes, and they would shake his hand. He goes, "You know how much I appreciate your commitment, because I know, John, you're a person of your word, and I truly appreciate it." That title company went bonkers in terms of business. But do you see how he asked for a commitment? Now, I'm not saying that's something that you all should do with these vendors of yours. What I am saying is the principle is ask for a freaking commitment. And if you don't, this is not going to work out for you. Okay? It will not work out. You ask for a commitment. You say to the person, "Hey, look, I appreciate your commitment. I know you're a person of your word, but listen, I don't want you to feel any pressure. But after 4 or 6 months, if I haven't heard from you, I'm going to call you. How would you like me to handle that conversation?" I was serious. I was
Hey,
serious.
let's move on to raving fans.
By the way,
With you,
guys, but excuse me. Well, based on the average commission nationally, you just had a $60,000.
yeah,
You
you
just
could
got
get.
60 grand for being on the call. But go ahead, Will.
No, you're 100% correct. And not everybody has to act like they're in The Sopranos. We're not all Italian, John. So it's kind of hard. It's like you're walking into the bakery and you're saying, I just need you to put $100 in this bag once a week. That's about what it's.
Yeah, Will picks on
Anyway,
me constantly. My last name ends in a vowel. Okay, whatever.
yeah. Raving fans. All right. Because we need to break this down for people. Everybody gets your newsletter, your network. If you've got a newsletter, I've got a snail mail newsletter through Service for Life that I've been using since the 90s. They're still around. It's sold several times. It was started by a guy by the name of Craig Fort, who John and I both know. But you have some kind of whether it's in a weekly email or something to stay in touch with everybody. With raving fans, John, what do you think What would be some ideas of staying in touch with and staying top of mind with the people that are the most important to you? Past clients or people that would, if they're at a party or if they're at Thanksgiving dinner and someone says, I'm moving next year, they're like, you have to call John. What do you do for them throughout the year?
Well, are you talking about like
What are some
acknowledging?
ideas of giving me some ideas of touches?
Okay, staying in touch. Okay, so guys, the first thing we need to understand is the first two groups, and the purpose of touches is to create top of mind. The way you do that is with engagement. Okay, and I believe that we should have one thing that's on autopilot. So, for example, Armand uses Fellow. Okay, some of you are using HomeBot or your company's version of that, but it goes out every month and they engage with it. They want to know the value of their home with HomeBot. You get the idea.
And
Autopilot.
it's $25 for those of you who don't know what HomeBot is or haven't used it. It's about 25 bucks a month. You can sign people up. It'll give them a monthly idea. They can put in like their mortgage amount. So it'll tell them roughly what equity they have based on how the market's going. It's actually very helpful. It's
Yeah,
really good. And it goes on autopilot and it's branded to you.
yeah, and 6 to 7 out of 10 people engage with that, and it's branded to you, and it costs nothing. So set
Yes,
it and
25
forget it.
bucks.
Yeah, set it and
All
forget
right.
it. Then, I believe in 4 touches a year, 3 of which create engagement. The other one is high touch, okay, that may not create engagement, but it definitely is memorable. So the 3 touches, I believe, with technology today, texting can be very, very effective, and Will uses a platform called Reach. So you create a generic text, and Reach reaches into your database and personalizes that generic text. Hey, Will and Mary. Hey, John and Karen. It takes that text and it personalizes it. Well, you get massive engagement. Will, when you send out that New Year's Eve text, what percentage of people engage and they hit you back and say, "Hey, Will, back at you"?
And that wasn't even with Reach. I've been for years sending out a New Year's Eve, like at 12:03. I'll send a text saying, "Hey, Sam, just hope you're Happy New Year. Just I hope you had a great evening. And I hope you have a great whatever." Some text
And
and
people engage.
well, because they're blown away that their realtor thought of them at midnight on a New Year's Eve.
So yeah, look, there's engagement there, guys, and it doesn't cost hardly anything, but it creates engagement. We're using technology to facilitate high touch, not as a substitute for it. We're using technology to facilitate high touch, not as a substitute for it. The other 2 touches, I believe one should be a phone call, but you should always have a reason to call, and it's not the chit chat. Hey, Jillian, it's John Gualtieri. Did I catch you at a bad time? No, no. Well, listen, let's catch up for a minute before I tell you why I called. Da, 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 da. And then you tell them why you called. And it's always something that's of a benefit to them, right? For example, a lot of people are underinsured with homeowners insurance right now. I'm not going to tell you why, but calling and giving people a heads up is huge. And then the 4th touch, I believe, should be some kind of, I used to send out Thanksgiving cards, and I would have Julie, my assistant, write a sentence or two in there by hand. Remember, these are only to the first 2 groups. So it's not like you're doing 1,000 of them. And I do want to make mention of thank you notes, guys. And I'm going to tell you another quick story because that's how we internalize stuff. I have a client who shall remain nameless, and this person was not acknowledging referrals, just was blowing it off. And I said to this individual, look, this is not smart. You're going to pay for this. And he shut me down. He said, John, look, at the end of the day, I'm not going to do it. So let's just move on before I get pissed off. That's exactly what he said to me. And I'm like, okay, dude, I'll back off, but you're going to pay for this one. The next morning at 7 o'clock, my phone rings and I see on the caller ID, it's him. And I was prepping for the day and I said, hey, what's up? Right. I answered the phone. He goes, you were right. This is the next morning, right? This is like God has a sense of humor. I said, what happened? He said, I went into the Home Depot to grab something, and a guy I know walked up to me and he said, hey, I'm glad you came here because I wanted to tell you to your face, I'm never going to send you another referral for as long as I live. You cannot make this stuff up.
It
And
was the next day.
next morning, right? Uh,
That's
and I said, well, why did he say that was? He said, well, he sent me two really good referrals over the past year, and I didn't say thank you. And he came back and he goes, I don't know what to do now with this guy. I said, you got to go back in there and eat your humble pie, and you apologize profusely, and you tell him that it'll never happen again if he ever chooses to send you a referral. Guys, there are serious penalties, and here's what I'm going to tell you: you do not text and you do not send an email thanking people referrals. That's the cheap and stupid way out. If you looked at the thank you notes that I send, and I still do, it's Crane and Company high-end stationery, embossed with my initials in hunter green. I handwrite with a fountain pen the thank you note. I seal it and I put a wax seal on it, or anyway, I used to. They kept getting caught in the postage machine, so I use regular, um, stickers
a
that
foil sticker.
match my stationery. I use commemorative stamps, and I still do to this day. I do not use flags, and I do not use, um, the Statue of Liberty. These are commemorative stamps, if you can see them, right? Let's see. Well, how do I get this in the camera? I don't know.
It's because you got your background. It doesn't matter.
Yeah, but
There's
anyway,
lots of different stamps.
these are waterfalls. They're little works of art. When people get a thank you note from me, it looks like it came from the King of England, Queen of England. But anyway, why? Because people used to call me and thank me for the thank you notes because they were so beautiful. And that what it says to them is, look, you really thought enough of me to send me this referral. I think enough of you to acknowledge it in a very special way. If you text, if you email, and I don't care if it's somebody who is, 35 years old and is used to texting, that thank you note will impact that individual. And I think we need to ask ourselves a question here. When is the last time you received a really gorgeous thank you note in the mail, via snail mail? When was the last time?
Right.
Right.
And
So
by the way, we're not allowed to talk about rewards, but I always reward someone for sending me a referral.
well,
I don't just send them the card.
Well, look, I think that you should do both, but if you can't or you don't want to, you better sit down and spend 5 minutes writing that thank you note, because you're not stupid and you're not fools to make another choice, to default to nothing, or to text or to email. There is a penalty. There is a penalty. Right.
I checked in Ohio. If you let's say you want to send a $25 gas card to BP or whatever, I was told by the Division of Real Estate, this is just my state, that if you send it to everyone that sends you a referral, not subject to it closing. And so personally, I like to encourage the behavior, not the outcome, because one of the easiest ways to move someone from what the potential fans to raving fans is through Pavlovian behavior. If they refer a friend and it never pans out, they still get the thank you note with the gift card. And I was told in our state that as long as you send that to everyone and it's not subject to you getting paid, then you're okay. So again, for me, it's worth it anyway, because I'm encouraging the behavior. If they send me a referral and it doesn't pan out and they still get a gift from me, the same gift that they would get had it panned out, then that's going to make them want to do it more.
Well, we've got some comments in the chat box.
Let's see.
So Rebecca,
let's see.
Rebecca, the 4 categories, I'll do that one. It's core advocates, their referral sources on steroids, raving fans, potential fans, and network. The first 2 groups are where you want to spend your time, energy, and resources. You want to snag one, Will?
Yeah, I'm just writing these in the
potential fans, right?
Yeah. Let's see. We have Todd Hurley, thank you for the good call. Oh, I have to jump. All right, Scott, I keep the referring person in the loop with the update of the progress, and they feel like they're kind of part of the deal. That's a great idea. Good job for you doing that. Rebecca, I delivered a small flower to my most recent referral. If anyone wants to put in the chat what they do when they get a referral, that would be helpful to everyone else.
Or what if you get a referral that doesn't pan out? How do you handle that one?
I've had people say to me, well, I don't know if I want to refer Ted because, he could be a little weird. And I'm like, no, you refer everyone to me. I'm a big boy. If he's weird to me, then I just won't work with him and I'll let you know. But I don't want you, not referring people to me just because you think it's, they might not fit. Let me be the triage. Dunkin' gift cards is a great idea.
Yeah,
I've used gas cards, like gas gift cards or grocery store gift cards, a lot because I never send alcohol because I've had when people give me a bottle of red wine, I hate wine. I barely drink. If someone gave me a bottle of red wine, I would just give it to my wife, or give it away. So I never use alcohol for that reason. But everyone's going to use, like, we have Giant Eagle in our area. It's a big grocery store chain. Everyone's going to use a $50 grocery store gift card, or a gas card. Everybody uses that. I think that's a safe bet. I used to give out movie tickets, but you can't count on those being used. So I stick with gas cards and grocery store gift cards. Sometimes I'll do a Lowe's or Home Depot card.
Yes. So, Will, you bring up a very, very interesting principle, and it's called the platinum rule. So everybody knows what the golden rule is, right? Do unto others as you would have them do unto you. The platinum rule says, do unto others as they want to be done unto. And I've got a client in New England. He's a New England Patriots lunatic, right? So he sends out New England Patriot calendars every year. Well, women are the audience when it comes to this stuff. Do you know where those calendars end up? One of three places: the garage, the basement, or the trash can. So he's exercising the golden rule. He would love a New England Patriots calendar, but that isn't going to cut it, right? If you love fudge, right, and this is an extreme example, well, you don't want to send a box of fudge because somebody might be a diabetic, sadly, right?
Or if they send you cigars because they love cigars, or golf balls because they love golf balls, try to keep it general.
Keep it high utilitarian value. Now, there's a guy by the name of Harvey McKay. He wrote a book entitled Swim with the Sharks Without Getting Eaten Alive. And his business was different. It wasn't, but it was based on referral and repeats. And he knew everything there was to know about each one of his clients in terms of what they liked. So some people like sports events. He would send them tickets. Some people love the cinema. He would send them tickets to the cinema. That's the ideal. Enough about each individual that you can exercise the platinum rule. But this is one wheelhouse where you got to be careful about the golden rule, because Will hates red wine. I'm not going to send Will a bottle of red wine because what he's going to do with it is pour it down the drain, right?
I'll regift it to somebody who does drink, like my wife. She likes red.
Yeah. Don't regift it to me. I don't drink at all.
Or golf balls. If I got a sleeve of golf balls, it's like I don't play golf, so. Anyway, hopefully this is helpful. Does anybody let's take some questions before we wrap this up. Does anyone have anything they want to add? Does anyone have a question? Anything we've talked about somebody wants clarification on? This is the part of the call where no one ever says yes and raises their hand. So that's good. There's services that will ship and let them. Yeah, that's a good idea, Scott. Oh, by the way, send out cards. There's a company called Send Out Cards. I used them for a long time. You can send in your handwriting. They'll create a font, and you can actually do a printed font, your own. And then the other one is called, it's in Follow Up Boss, actually. It's called, oh my goodness, it's another handwriting. I can't think of it. It's another handwriting tool where they write notes for you and you can include a gift. But send out cards is one that's been around forever.
Yeah, they're a good outfit actually because they'll do it soup to nuts. You know, and they'll take your verbiage, they'll write the card in your handwriting, and
Well,
put it
you type
down.
the card, John. You log into your account. You type the card the way you
Right.
want it, put the address in, but it writes it in your handwriting font because you've sent. They actually, you can do it electronically now. When I did it, they sent you a sheet. You put the capital letters, lowercase, numbers, punctuation, send it in, and then they create a font for you.
Rebecca just said that AM Cards is in follow.
AM Cards is the one. Thank you, Rebecca. That's the
I have a
one.
lot of I have a lot of home partner services that I do refer out, but I'm not getting anything in return. Um, is there certain things that need to be done before we start that relationship? Because I mean, I have probably 20 or 30 of go-to people that I'm like, yeah, call this guy for a plumber or whatever.
Yeah,
I
like
think
John said, you might want to just maybe not show up with the break your knees approach that Gualtieri uses, but
they used to call me Johnny Bag of Donuts in Philly.
right. Most of us aren't living in Philly, although New Jersey's probably close, right, Peter and Matt? Um, but yeah, I mean, I think you can just have, if you see that they're getting business, just have a casual conversation with them to see and try to get a commitment of some reciprocation of some kind of just say, I know you know a bunch of realtors, but I've sent you this much over the last year. I also rely on referrals just like you do. And I'd like to be able to count on one referral a year from you. Can you commit to that over the course of a year? And if you know other agents, I promise I won't tell them. You know,
Scott,
I mean,
Scott, one of the things, if I could interject here, start with the people who are, to your mind, most likely to say yes. Get the wins under your belt,
right.
right?
Yeah.
And then go for the more difficult ones.
And the other thing that you can get from them when we have client events, we definitely go and ask them to provide a basket or some contribution. And some of them act completely shocked. You know, like we've asked them for some personal information. I'm like, dude, I send you home inspections every month, you know, and I don't want remuneration or from a home inspector because it's a conflict. But I'm like, you can refer me. You know, you can refer me once a year. Everybody's good for one referral, I would imagine. Anyway.
Again, you're right. Well, make it easy for them. You're not asking for one a quarter, one a year. I mean, come on, right? You know, don't do me like this. You know, because you put me in an awkward position.
When I call you in 6 months and you haven't sent any, how would you like me to handle that? That's definitely the guy showing up to your bakery wanting a bag of money. I mean, come on, John.
Well, look, at the end of the day, I'm not being arrogant, but again, all of these people benefit because we fundamentally sell a house or list a house. You know,
Right.
I saw an article, I'm sorry, I saw it on NAR's website, actually. They listed each of the 50 states and what percentage of the gross domestic product per state real estate was responsible for. And when you count in the buying and listing of homes with all of the ancillary services plus all the stuff people buy at Home Depot, Lowe's, and so forth, you know, it ranges from 20 to 25% are arguing about each state's economy. I mean, that's insane when you think about
insurance, home improvement. You buy a house, you go buy a hot tub. There's all sorts of stuff.
All of the above.
All right.
So I think we have the right to ask is the point.
Yep. We will send, if anybody wants any, you've got my contact information and John's. If you want the recording of this, just let us know and we can send it to you. I can't imagine sitting through it again, but you know. Hopefully everyone felt like this was productive. You know, John and I have sold over $1 billion worth of real estate between the two of us, so we're just trying to pass it on.
Yeah. All right, guys. Well, listen, I appreciate you being here. We'll see you next time. If you have anything that you want to chat about, reach out to Will. I'm too busy. No, you can call either of us.
I appreciate all of you. Have a great day.
Be well.
See ya. Thank you for listening to this episode of the Building Stronger Agents podcast. If you like this episode, please give us a 5-star review and share our podcast with your friends.